All right, today we're tearing apart the anatomy of a truly massive, though hypothetical, military operation against Iran. We're talking about an attack on a scale and with a complexity that's almost hard to imagine, all designed to pull off one single, shocking goal.
It sounds impossible, right? How do you win a war in a single second? But that very question, that's the strategic heart of one of the boldest military plans you'll ever hear about. This isn't about a long, drawn-out fight. It's all about one single, absolutely decisive moment.
The code name for this whole plan was Operation Epic Fury. And in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how this strike was put together, how it went down, and what happened in those critical, chaotic moments right after.
So let's set the scene. The date is February 28th, 2026. At that moment, the United States and Israel launched this massive, coordinated military assault against Iran. Now, this isn't some small raid. No, this is the big one. This is a first night of the war kind of attack. But here's the thing. This was so much more than just hitting military targets. The message they were sending was crystal clear. The real objective was a decapitation strike, with missiles dialed in on the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei's personal compound, right in the heart of Tehran.
And in the moments right after the strike, pure chaos. You've got two completely opposite stories coming out. Israel is claiming total success, saying Khamenei's body has been found, but then Iran comes out and says, no way, he slipped away before the missiles even hit. So right from the get-go, the central question, did it even work, was totally lost in the fog of war.
So you've got to be asking, how is an attack like this even possible? Hitting the very nerve center of a nation with such overwhelming force? Well, the answer lies in this devastatingly effective military tactic, one that's designed for exactly this kind of shock and awe.
And that tactic is called time on target. You know, the key here isn't just launching a bunch of stuff. It's about timing. It's about making sure everything, and I mean everything, lands at the exact same instant. It's pure synchronized destruction. And this really shows you just how complex it is. I mean, think about it. You have cruise missiles launching from destroyers hundreds of miles away in the Arabian Sea. You have guided bombs dropping from jets that flew for hours, all on different flight paths, all launched at different times. But because of some seriously intense math, they all hit their targets at the exact same single second. It's an incredible piece of choreography.
And that right there, that was the entire point. This wasn't just about blowing up buildings. The real goal was psychological. It was designed to be a total systemic shock, to hit the Iranian leadership so hard and so fast that the entire regime would just crumble right then and there.
Okay, but that brings us to a huge question, right? Iran has one of the most heavily defended airspaces on the planet. So how in the world did the coalition just stroll right in? They needed some kind of ghost key to unlock the door.
So why did they fail so catastrophically? Well, it wasn't just one thing. The answer is this layered, systematic assault designed to completely dismantle Iran's ability to even see what was coming at them.
They basically hit them with this devastating 1-2-3 punch. First, they used electronic warfare to blind their sensors. Then, they completely confused the radar operators with a swarm of decoys. And finally, with the defenses totally crippled, their stealth fighters just slipped right past, completely unseen. Let's dig into how each of those pieces worked.
So step one was all about making Iran's own radar operators doubt what they were seeing. A super advanced electronic attack, coordinated from space, sea, and the air, started pumping false data right onto their screens. Just imagine trying to defend your airspace when you literally can't trust your own equipment.
Now, with the operators already disoriented, the US sprung this brilliant trap. They launched hundreds of these little things called MALTs, or miniature air-launched decoys. And, to a panicked radar operator, these tiny drones looked exactly like huge squadrons of F-15s screaming towards them. It was just an impossible number of fake threats to deal with.
So with the radar network blind and totally overwhelmed by all these ghost planes, the door was basically kicked wide open. The real attackers, we're talking US and Israeli F-35s, maybe even some F-22 Raptors, could just slice right through Iranian airspace like they weren't even there.
Okay, so we know how they got in, but what did they actually do once they were there? Well, this wasn't a random free-for-all. It was a very methodical, three-wave assault designed to cripple Iran's ability to fight back, not just today, but for a long time to come.
It all unfolded in three distinct waves. Wave 1 was all about taking out the eyes, the radars and air defense sites. Wave 2 went for the fists, Iran's huge arsenal of ballistic missiles. And Wave 3, that was for the backbone, the military factories, to stop them from ever rebuilding. It was a logical and totally devastating sequence.
And that first wave, wow, it was absolutely overwhelming. They hit critical aerospace facilities in Karaj. They shattered any sense of safety in the capital, Tehran. They sent shockwaves through Qom, the country's ideological heart. They took out launch sites in Kermanshah. And they lit up the night sky over Isfahan, which is basically the crown jewel of Iran's nuclear and drone programs.
But here's the twist in the story. That shock and awe, it didn't cause an instant collapse. Instead of ending a war in a single second, the strike basically lit a match and set the entire region on fire. The war wasn't over, it had just begun.
And Iran's response came fast and hard. Tehran fired back with something they called Operation Truthful Promise 4, launching this massive wave of missiles and drones at U.S. bases and allies all across the Middle East.
The fallout was immediate, and it was everywhere. Bases in the UAE got hit. The U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain was a target. Kuwait's entire airspace had to be locked down because it was under such heavy fire. And all across Israel, sirens were blaring as missile defenses lit up the skies over Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. The whole region was on fire.
Which brings us right back to where we started. Operation Epic Fury was built on this monumental bet, the idea that one single, perfectly timed blow could make an entire regime just fall apart. But when you look at that immediate fiery retaliation, you're left with a much more chilling question. Did the strike of the century accidentally trigger the war of a generation?